Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Chai Pei from National Archives Administration of China. And on behalf of Ms. Huang Lihua, who is the director of the Technological Department of National Archives Administration of China, I'm going to give this presentation in English. Okay, dear colleagues, okay, thank you. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a great honor to be invited to the second interregional conference for the memory of the world and to introduce the digitization and the electronic archives management in China. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the Regional Committee for Asia Pacific, MOCAP, and Asian Culture Center for their careful organization and arrangement of this conference, and also for the warm hospitality to us. And I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce the development of electronic archives management under the condition of digitalization and informatization of traditional Chinese archives. And I'll put this in two parts. The first part is the strategy and implementation of archives digitization in China. And there are three aspects for this part. The first one is archives digitization strategy, and then the archives, and then the achievements of archives digitalization, and the role, and the third one is the role of archive digitization in China. First thing I'm going to talk about is the digitization of archives is brought into the development plan of China's archival undertaking. And you can see on the screen that the 4 5-year plan, there are 5-year plan, there are 4 5-year plan for the development of national archival undertaking formulated by the National Archives Administration of China from the year 2000 to 2016, and the implementation outline of National Archives informationization construction formulated in 2002, all proposed to speed up the digitization of traditional archives, which greatly promoted the digitization process of archives in various regions. And under the framework of these plans, there are some standards and specifications for archives digitization. In order to guide the archives department at all levels to carry out the work of archives digitization in a scientific and standardized way, and NAAC attached great importance to the construction of standards and norms related to archives digitization. In the year 2005, technical specification for the digitization of paper archives was formulated. And in 2009, technical specification for microfilm digitization was formulated. In 2014, security management specification for outsourcing of archives digitization and archiving and management specification of digital photos were issued. In 2017, specification for digitalization of audiovisual archives, specification for digitalization of paper archives, and the specification for the integration of microfilm and digital technology of paper archives were formulated to guide the digitalization of traditional carriers' archives. And the third strategy is to accelerate the digitalization process of traditional carrier archives through the construction of digital archives. In 2010, NAAC issued the Guide to the Construction of Digital Archives, underlining that the digitalization of traditional carriers archives is an important basis for the construction of digital archives. In 2013, the NAAC held the National Digital Archives Construction Promotion Meeting and proposed the implementation of the strategy of digitization for the stock and the electronization for the increment. In 2014, NAAC issued the systematic test method for digital archives, which stipulates that the database of document-level catalog covering all collective collection has not been completed, and those who do not meets the digitization rate of paper archives of their holdings shall not apply for the test, which effectively promotes the digitization process of traditional carrier archives. And the second part is the achievements. After nearly 20 years of efforts, China's archives digitization has achieved remarkable results. At the central level, the first historical archives of China has completed the digitization of 8 million pieces and 80 million pages, accounting for 80% of the total collection resources. At the provincial level, Zhejiang Provincial Archives has completed the digitization of nearly 60 million pages, accounting for more than 70%. Yunnan Provincial Archives has completed the digitization of 112 million pages, realizing the digitalization of almost all the collections. And Qingdao Municipal Archives has digitalized all its holdings. And at the county and city level, more than 80% of the archives of 17 districts and counties in Shanghai have been digitized, and some districts have completed the digitization of all collections. And Taicang City of Jiangsu Province and the Yijinghuo County of Inner Mongolia and the Shiyan City of Hubei Province have all completed the digitization of their holdings. According to the statistics of 2018 annual report on the basis situation of national archives, the digitized archives of all kinds of archives at all levels in China are 5.4 billion pages, which amount to 15 million gigabits. And the third part is the role of the archives digitization in China. And with all the works above have done, there are following benefits for all of this. The first one is that the original archives were protected. And second is that the labor intensity and cost of archival utilization is reduced. And the third is that the service efficiency and the management level of archives is improved. And the fourth is that the transformation and upgrading of archives is promoted. This is the first part of this report. And the second part is the management of electronic archives in China. I will introduce in three aspects. The first one is the general requirements, and the second one is the implementation, and third one is the sharing and utilization of the electronic archives. NNAC follows the pace of national informationization development and actively participates in and leads the formulation of electronic archives management requirements in national policies. In April 2019, it was put forward in regulations on online government service of the State Council that government service agencies should standardize the management of electronic documents formed in the process of performing their duties, file them in electronic form, and transfer them to the archives department in time, according to the requirements of archives management. Except as otherwise provided by laws and administrative regulations, electronic documents are no longer filed and handed over in paper form. Electronic archives that meet the requirements of archives management have the same legal effects as paper archives. And in the revised draft of the archives law, the chapter of archives informatization is added to make it clear that the people's government at all levels should incorporate archives informationization into the development plan so as to ensure the safe preservation and effective utilization of digital resources of archives, such as electronic archives and the digital achievements of traditional carriers' archives. It's not allowed to deny the legal effect of electronic archives only because they are in electronic form. Electronic archives with a legal effect can be used as evidence in electronic form. The second part is the implementation. And I will introduce in three aspects. One is the archiving, and then the transfer and the receiving, and the third one is the long-time preservation of the electronic file. In 2016, NAAC formulated the national standard, the standards of electronic documents archiving and electronic archives management, which puts forward requirements from the archiving scope. From the archiving scope, collection and sorting, archiving mode, archiving format, and electronic archives management of an electronic file. This is the first national standard concerning the management of electronic archives in China. In 2016, China issued a series of standards for electronic documents of party and government organs. On this basis, in 2019, NAAC completed drafting of the party and government organs electronic document archiving standard. And this can better solve the management of the whole process of the formation, handling, archiving, storage, and utilization of electronic documents of party and government organs in China. It's worth mentioning that with the increasing popularity of paperless office and paperless transactions, NAAC is promoting the office automation system to form electronic documents and other business systems to form a single set of electronic documents, which means the electronic documents are only preserved in electronic form. In 2016, the NAAC and the Ministry of Finance of China jointly issued the measures for management of accounting archives, proposing that electronic signatures that meet the provisions of laws and the electronic signature of the People's Republic, laws of the electronic signature of the People's Republic of China, can be archived and preserved in electronic form only in the electronic accounting archives. In 2018, the NAAC revised the interim measures for archiving management of electronic documents issued in 2003, which clearly stated that electronic documents that meet the requirements of relative national regulations can be only filed in electronic form, which provides policy basis for single-set archiving of electronic documents. And then is the transfer and receiving of electronic files. In 2012, NAAC issued the measures for the transfer and the receiving of electronic archives, which put forward the requirements on the process, data structure, and the methods during the transfer and the receiving of electronic archives, and carry out the measures in 6 provincial and municipal archives. In 2014, the NAAC issued the measures for systematic testing of digital archives, which put forward clear requirements for the quality and quantity of electronic archive received. Under the promotion of the construction of digital archives, many local archives have implemented online receiving of electronic archives, relying on the regional e-government network. By now, Zhejiang Provincial Archives have received 160,000 electronic archives. In 2018, China's comprehensive archives at all levels have a total of 1 million gigabits of electronic archives, including digital photos, audios and videos. And the third aspect is the long-term preservation of electronic archives. In 2017, NAAC issued the provisions of basic functions of electronic archives management system, which put forward clear requirements for the safety management and long-term preservation of electronic archives. NAAC also issued more than 10 technical standards, including the following standards. In the aspects of electronic archives backup, archives department at all levels use online and offline and other methods and use disks, tapes, CDs, and other media to back up the electronic archives. For some important electronic archive, microfilm is used in some places for backup and storage. Archives department at all levels have been in-depth implementation of the requirements for heterogeneous backup of important archives put forward by NAAC. By using the backup mechanism of pairing, almost all the archive departments at or above the sub-provincial level have completed the work of backup of each other's important electronic archives. And third part is the sharing and access of electronic archives. At present, almost all the archives departments at or above the sub-provincial level are able to carry out electronic archives information services through the three networks platforms of the local area network, government network, and internet. Many prefecture level and the county level archives have built LAN platforms or started the construction of LAN platforms. Most archives above the county level have websites or homepages on the internet to carry out access or utilization services for archives. And here we come to the conclusion. Archives digitization and the electronic archives management are important measures taken by archives department to comply with the trend of the times and keep pace with the development of the times, which will further promote the pace of social progress and human civilization department. China's archives industry is willing to further strengthen its ties with global archives institutions and archivists, and work together to contribute its experience and wisdom to the sustainable development of collective memory and the construction of a community with a shared future for mankind. Thank you. That's all. Thank you.